Hey students, welcome back to another exciting video lecture. This one might be the most important one. I'm going to talk about sources. Now, we've mentioned sources in module, the little thing about primary, secondary, and tertiary. Fun. And I'm also bringing it up in your announcement on Thursday, April 3, your Thursday announcement. I'm going to cover some sources there as well. This is to try to cement what I'm going to say to you on Thursday. So, talking about sources, there are three types of sources. The main category: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary sources are sources made by people during an event. Best example here behind me, you see the American Revolution. If you participate in the American Revolution, alive at the time of the American Revolution, then your recollection of the American Revolution would be a primary source. So unless you had a time machine, you can go back to the past, and if you did, you're supposed to pick me up and take me to the that's good music. But we don't have one of them. So either you're like a Highlander, you're alive a long time, you know what's going on. You're not going to write firsthand about probably. This is my area, I most college, and I've written on it, published. But everything I've written about the American Revolution is obviously a secondary source because I wasn't. So secondary source is just where it is a source written or created after the fact. Primary source is during, by somebody who's involved in an event. It can be written, it can be filmed, it can be pottery shards past, diaries. These are all form primaries. You're going to learn about those as you class. I'm stressing something else here. Primary sources during the fact, secondary sources after the fact. Many of you, especially from K-12 land, have used tertiary sources. Tertiary sources would be history.com, Britannica, encyclopedia, or Wikipedia. All right. These are not bad sources. However, you are in the world of academia. We do not use tertiary sources in academic work. It does not mean we do not read them. Encyclopedias are valuable. Wikipedia is a good example of that. I'm going to show you in just a second how to use that. But we don't use them in academic work, as in we don't cite them. So if you're trying to cite something from history.com, don't do it. Just don't do it. I don't want to see history.com at all. Okay, here, let me put it this way here. You may not use history.com in academic work from now until the end of time. All right? We teachers talk, and we always get this where people are trying to go to grad school, and they're trying to use history.com. Do not use history.com. I'm telling you exactly what happens in grad school. They kick the paper back to you, and they say, get better sources. Send this in again when you do. And if people ignore them, they just put a 0 and say, don't use history.com. I told you not to use that. And until you start using good sources, you're not going to have a good grade. You're going to get a 0. And I've seen it, and I've done it myself. So here's the thing. Don't use history.com. Don't use history.com. Do not use history.com. And there will be somebody invariably who will use history.com and then say, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, did you read the announcement? Did you use what I said? Well, I got to use it in K-12. Well, you're not in K-12. You're in college. And it makes a difference. And you're being told, do not use history.com. That's it. It's not optional. It's the way it is. So there you go. Now, why can you not use history.com or Britannica.com, encyclopedias, or Wikipedia? These are what we call overview. They're obviously not a primary source. They may use other sources. That's good. But what they really are is like an encyclopedia. They're an entry. They give you an overview of a topic, but they don't give you any real depth to the topic. They're good for they have purposes, and I like them, but it's not in depth. So, how do you use these sources? Ah, didn't say you couldn't use them. I said you don't cite them in academic work. Now, I'm going to share my screen. We'll go look at Wikipedia, and I'll show you how to use that. So, share screen, Bing thing, Wikipedia. Oh, there it is. I want that one there. All right. Now, this one here obviously is on the Stonewall riots. Why am I using the Stonewall riots? Well, there's a reason for that. And the reason is because it's actually kind of around this time period. For the 7th anniversary of it, as a matter of fact, right now. So let's go ahead and look into this a bit. So you can read through this. Note all the fun stuff here. These are links to more spots in Wikipedia. Wikipedia is very useful. There's a lot to be learned here. But again, it's not really heavy duty in depth. Need more sources. So again, and more sources are better. So this is where you can find sources. So here's your overview, and it's really good. If you're like, when you were picking your 9 topics, you can pick from here. You can look and see some of these things. Now, what do they know about this? What about that? Okay, I have to find some stuff here. All right, in this case here, Stonewall Rebellion, riots, where we want to go to. It provides you context, history, and we explore what it is, what happened, how these things came about. I love the mafia part of this. I mean, just great. And why did this happen? And see, that's one thing when we talk about things in history. We talk about who, what, when, where, but the most important W history is why. It's the thumb. Why? So why did this happen? That's no, and this gives you an overview of that. Now we want to learn more about it, okay? Because again, this is just a little bit about it. So we go down here to the bottom. I'm going to scroll through real quick, and you can just go over here and grab this thing. And of course, you have links to take you to various other spots. That's all good. So we get down in here and we see representation. There was no, as it says here, no newsreel TV footage. There's, as I said, real film, movies, and photographs, but they've been using documentaries. So you can come here and film this after the fact. Oh, great, for a secondary source. And here you go. Music, people have made songs. Now, it's not the best source in the world, but they get inspiration from somewhere. Moving on, play. We see more stuff in here to look at, more events. Look this one here, the Ariston Bathhouse Raid, 1903. Tells you some stuff. Notes, look really good. Again, Wikipedia, I like Wikipedia. Don't use it the actual source in academic work. Really use it for finding sources. So look at this. Oh, Stonewall riots. What really happened? What didn't? What became myth? From the Daily Beast. So that's going to be on the reports. And it gives you books and stuff. Well, let's see which one's used the most in here, or which one's fairly current. Then we can go with the book and read it, or whatever we need on it. Going through. Okay, you see all kinds of stuff here. Some of them give you stuff that take you to websites. Okay, fine. No problem. See, those are sources. Now we get down into here where it says sources. So here's a book, The Rise of a Gay Lesbian Movement. Pulp Friction, An Army Annex Lovers, My Life with the Gay Community News, Gay American History. On and on. There's all kinds of sources here. External links. Police records, documents, started with film. Oh, wow. What did the police records say? Okay. Now, remember, these are not absolute books, but they're sources. And so you can go in here and you can find more sources. That's the best part about Wikipedia. Why I love it compared to history.com. History.com, written by the editors. They may have sources. They started getting better about this. May have sources, they may not. A lot of them don't have sources. Here's the bottom line. If you're using a written source, it's got to have an author. If it says editors, throw it away. Can't go by editors. You got to go by an actual person. What is their criteria? What is their standard? What is their authority? What are their credentials? It's Joe Blow down the street. Well, that's going to be more on the primary side. That's going to be an opinion. Do they use other sources? Do they use primary and secondary sources to support their interpretation? If they don't use sources, throw it away, unless it's a primary source. Primary source is always a source within it. So here you can see you got external links, you got other sources. This is what, and I did this the hard way when I first got started. Go here, look for sources, find them. You also have sources in the Shapiro Library. I want you to use that Shapiro Library. You have to use it. There's plenty of sources in there to find things. So this is the value of an overview, but it's like a 5-gallon bucket of water, the first inch, then the rest of the bucket. That's where you have to go and find more sources. And this, the best thing about Wikipedia, it links us to a bunch of sources. It's doing some of our research for us. It's pointing us in direction, and we can start learning more. Again, you're at the beginnings of research. All the help you can get, you want. And then later on, once you get that basic foundation of how to conduct research, you can go in more depth. And every semester, I have students do this. I'm like, weren't taught how to do it. You show them how. And if you can do your own research, then that means no one can tell you what to think, because you learn how to do research independently. You know what to think on your own. You don't get spoon-fed information. You challenge it. You ask questions. And that's good. We have people saying, quit asking questions. And I'm like, no. When people start telling you to quit asking questions, that's when you need to ask more questions, because invariably something is hidden. And when we talk about dominant narratives, they don't want you to question the dominant narrative, because if you do that, well, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Don't look at the guy behind the green curtain. But when you pull it back, hey, what's this old guy doing here? He's speaking for the wizard. Well, where's the wizard? Oh. And that's what we see with these dominant narratives. When we start asking questions, does the narrative stand up? And invariably, they don't. And you see why a narrative is created for to continue the support of a dominant group. Sources help you find these answers. And an overview will give you some idea, but it won't get into depth on it. That's what we want you to do. Use primary sources, use secondary sources. Not saying don't use Wikipedia and all those others to get an idea of more sources or to get an overview. That's fine. But you may not use them as cited materials in academic work. So, nohistory.com, nobritannica.com, nowikipedia.com. It doesn't mean you can't go there and get an overview or find their sources. That's fine. But go beyond it. Okay, it's like you're a detective. I'm going to come out of this here. It's like you're a detective, right? You're sitting there saying, okay, well, I'm a detective. What do I do? You know, how does a detective work? Well, detectives look for clues. They get witnesses. They get secondary evidence, bloodstream, gunshots, the gun that was fired, the body of the deceased in case of something like that, tire track, video cameras, license plate readers. We just had several crimes solved here thanks to license plate readers. All kinds of little things like that. But really, in essence, what a detective does is they pick up the rock on the ground and look what's under it. Oh, the rock. They pick that rock up too. They keep digging up clues until they have information. Sometimes it conflicts. Oh, well, this is an easy case. We got this. Is that what actually happened or not? We have all kinds of people who got off the death row because the information was pretty made up, cherry picked, blackmailed even. All kinds of things in the past. Good detectives do their homework. They dig up the clue, and they don't stop until they've got all the clues they can do. It's methodical, it's tedious, but good detectives build up cases based on solid evidence. That's how it works. When you go into the courtroom, they ask for facts. If you don't have facts, people were talking about the 2020 election. They said, okay, bring the facts to court. Oh, we don't have that. Well, then your claim has no basis. You have to have evidence. Graceland, Elvis Presley's estate. There were some Nigerian scam artists that were trying to get to the estate for nothing. And they did some investigation real quick. The state auditor or whatever in Tennessee did this, real look that went, a judge, oh, this is bogus. It didn't hold up in court. Have to have evidence. Sources. So when we're doing our assignments and we're looking for evidence, primary and secondary sources, we want to get actual primary and secondary sources. Tertiary sources do not cut it. All right. If you have questions on this, email me, hit me up in the general forum. Again, we're going to have something on Thursday, more detail on sources. I can't make it more obvious than this. And I've been doing this for a long time. And all I can say to you is, do what I tell you, read what I tell you, follow those instructions, and you'll do well. Ignore me, and as you go down the road, you're going to have teachers that at some point are going to say, no, the assignment is not acceptable. You must redo the assignment. And that's it. And so I'm trying to break you of the habit. And I went back to school after 23 years. I went back to school a while back, and I had to learn all this stuff all over again. So I'm talking to you from the well of experience that I have in going back to school. So, work with me and everything will be good. Ignore me and it will eventually catch up to you. Again, what goes around comes in. So do not use history.com. Do not use Britannica.com. Do not use Wikipedia.com in your academic work. Use them to find more sources and to get an overview, but do not cite them in your assignment. That's the simple, honest, easy way to work around this. Okay, again, questions, email, general discussion. With that, I'm going to say goodbye, and you all have a wonderful day and a great week.